Alright, how's it going, everyone? Thank you for returning to World Within Worlds. And today is the start of a new series, or study, where I dissect the lore and writing of the Mortal Kombat games, movies, and comics. As I do so, I hope you enjoyed this video of me making a custom Jax figure. Now, to be honest, this isn't my best figure or best custom, but we're just having fun here. It's not in my intention to rehash old information that you probably already knew when you clicked on this video, but I hope that when I break down the lore, it's to help us to study how the writers fleshed out their lore and what we can learn from that in our own writings. Or maybe you're not a writer at all, but this gives you a new level of appreciation for the love and attention put into these worlds. So today we talk about Earthrealm. Now, in a world full of alternate fantasy driven realms, Earthrealm is the best for multiple reasons. It's the perfect segue to transition us into this world of Mortal Kombat. See, us being the audience, we're from Earth. So it's going to be the most relatable thing that we have in this game of alternate dimensions and other planets. Don't get me wrong, Earth realm is different than how we know it in real life, obviously. There's magic and all these other different crazy things going on. However, I still think it's the best realm because of it's the perfect way, like I said, to get us into this world, to slowly creep us into this world of Mortal Kombat without being lost in this entire, you know, gumbo pot of confusing, crazy monsters, crazy races, and all of that. So, in my perfect opinion, it's the perfect way to get your audience to truly understand your world. And this kind of brings me to the movie. The Mortal Kombat movie that came out, I think 2 years now, 2021. It, they did something very unnecessary, which I'm sure most of y'all already know or talked about, which is create Cole Young. Cole Young was the director's version of creating something or some character that everyone else can kind of relate to, but that was unnecessary. I love the movie. I really did. It has issues, but I love the movie. But it had a lot of unnecessary changes to an already fleshed out lore. And Cole Young is kind of pointless. There's plenty of other characters that you could have told the story, through. Like Jax, Sonya, Cabal, uh, or arguably the lead of the entire franchise, Liu Kang. These are people who are from Earthrealm, who give us a kind of connection to something that we recognize, whether through work or through spirituality. For example, Jax and Sonya, they're military. They both give us that familiarity with fighting for your country, fighting for what you love, fighting for the peace, fighting for what's right. And that carries over into the game. To be honest, in MK9, they for a while they're the main characters we follow. Sonya, Jax, and Johnny Cage. Also, if you look at MK9, Cabal. Cabal is brought in through watching this war take place on Earthrealm. That he has no idea what these creatures are coming from or what's happening, and he watches his partner get burned. Or no, I'm sorry, he gets burned. Stryker is the one who watches his partner to get burned. Cabal gets burned alive. That is a perfect way for us to see how a normal human character can get brought into this crazy world with centaurs and vampires and people who suck the souls out of you. Um, this is how we're able to see how a normal human, a person who is a police officer, doing his job, can get pulled into this world. We didn't need to create a character, a new character for that to happen. Now, to be fair, plenty of the other games have created new characters here and there, so what's wrong with creating one more? And I'm gonna get to that in a second. Um, Also, if you go through the Liu Kang route, like I said before, you get the spiritual aspect of it. So Liu Kang was, I believe, I need to double check on this. Yeah, he was trained by the Shaolin monk, so he has that spiritual um energy with him and everything, and how he acts, how patient he is, how he might look at everything from different perspectives, more in a religious kind of way versus just seeing things as black and white. And I think that works really well because he is also human. He already have understand certain powers and stuff that takes place too. So he's not completely foreign to the world. So you don't have to worry about crazy exposition. The exposition will kind of be given just through some natural things that he does or from his reaction to it. If he looks at these things and they're normal to him, then we understand, okay, so this is a normal thing. This isn't strange happening right now before our eyes. So in my opinion, you could have told the story through many of the Mortal Kombat characters and still had a great way of getting the audience used to this. Plus, there's the fact that majority of your audience are probably already huge fans of the Mortal Kombat universe, but that's another point. No, I'm not here to try to, you know, create hate or hate on Cole Young and all that because I'm not the movie writer. They wrote a movie, a successful movie, and it did great. So in no way I'm trying to say, hey, this ain't how you write a movie or anything like that. Just giving them my opinion on how I feel the games already successfully did what they tried to redo with the Mortal Kombat movie. I honestly feel like when certain writers do this, um, it shows that they're not putting enough faith in their audience's intellect. They feel like you have to explain on a simple level. There have been a lot of movies where I cringe at the heavy exposition that they drop in one scene. And I'm just like, okay, some of this stuff I could have figured out. Some of this stuff you could have said in not so obvious type way. You see it a lot in TV shows, but that's normal. It's a TV show and it's usually a comedy TV show. So they might say something like, "Oh, remember that person who we just let into our house and blah 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 and had dinner?" They'll give all these very specifics in which that's not a normal conversation because if clearly that person's been living with you, they will remember inviting someone over to have dinner with you, yada yada yada. You wouldn't have to explain all of that unless you're dealing with someone who has a very forgetful memory. So when I see these things, it kind of stands out to me. And it's something that I also look at for my own self when I'm writing. I'm hoping I'm not making the same mistakes. Because I also look at it and say, well, it's not that easy to just be like, oh, don't put too much exposition. Because at some point, you want to make sure your audience is not lost. If they're lost, they're not going to be able to follow the story that you set for them. So I understand now, actually writing myself, that it's very easy to be trying to balance, to be stuck in that balance of, okay, should I say a little bit more so my audience is able to keep up, or am I saying too much? Am I trusting that the audience just knows what's going on, but it's really just stuck in my head? There were people that complained about the Dune movie for doing the exact same thing. That apparently, the Dune movie talked about too much stuff that if you didn't read the books or saw the original movie, you wouldn't understand. Now, me personally, I watched the new Dune movie and I was fully there with it. I didn't need anything broken down to me. I'm very easily at reading between the lines or just enjoying the hunger that for the lore that's created by them leaving certain things out. Now I want to know more about the house of such and such and how these people live in the sand and all these other different things. So yeah, I do get it. It's not an easy thing. So no way I'm just trying to say, hey man, this is really simple and y'all just screwed that up. But again, just studying how this plays out. Now, um, I do think though when writers can get caught up on trying to pour out so much information that they're missing the beauty of proper world building. Some of the best things or books that I've read didn't tell me everything in the first book. Instead, they gave me just enough to kind of confuse me, kind of make me very hungry for more, and enough to give me so I could follow along. And then the second book and the third book and the fourth book all gave it a little bit more for me to flesh out this entire world. By the time I've read the franchise, I understand how this world works in and out, or maybe before the finale, whether it's a book finale or the chapter finale. Now I understand how the world works fully. I feel like a lot of times people, writers with movies, they don't exactly do that. They more focus on we need the audience to understand this movie right here. Maybe there's no promise that they're going to be able to make a sequel. Maybe there's. So they try to give you all the information you need in one movie. I would argue that if you make the audience hungry for more knowledge of what the hell they just watched, that they might want to see the second movie and there'll be a huge demand of it. And then the studios would okay it. But I don't know. Again, I don't work in that field, so maybe I'm just looking at it from my perspective. But it just feels like you're kind of missing the whole beauty in world building. You're missing the beauty in seeing that audience itch and scratch for they want more, they gotta have more. We need to know what's going on in this world. An example of that would be the TV show From. From has done a great example of giving you very little bit of information each episode, diving you into this very interesting story where you're on the tip of your toes every episode, Kind of creepy, kind of scary at scenes, really good drama. But after watching all of season one, you still don't know what's going on. And I'm watching season two right now, and I'm sure by the end of season two, I'm only going to know a little bit more than I did at the end of one. I hear Lost was like that. I didn't watch it, but I hear Lost was like that. And so my point is, you can intrigue your audience a lot more with them knowing a little, very very little. But maybe that's not something everyone can balance, and hopefully, I'm able to balance it in my own stuff. Now, I know that the audience needs something to relate to, but again, it doesn't have to be on the nose like Cole was. Like I've said before, going back to our original topic, there are plenty of characters in Earthrealm that are perfect for the audience to relate to. I believe that's why the writers at Midway, the writers at Netherealm Studios, used these created around this Earthrealm to give the gamers somebody they can relate to give them humans, to give them people who don't live to be thousands of years old, like the people of Edenia. Um, Katana, Sindel, Jade. Instead, we have people who live and die like us, who have short years, who age very quickly, like we see Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat X. The dude is old with a full gray beard and everything else, and now they've had children and stuff. That is our greatest relation when it comes to these characters. Even if you're a fan of certain older cultures and things like that, you see that throughout the different people. We have Jax, African American, Sonya and Johnny Cage are Caucasian, and we have Liu Kang who was taken from the monk culture, and we have we have other characters who take off of Japanese samurais like Scorpion, and they fleshed that out really good in the movie, by the way. I thought they did that very good. You have things in the story that takes after like war, I guess you could say cultures with ninjas, like I said again, samurais. And you got a lot of different things, military, United States military, and all that type of stuff. Even with Kano, you have the underground market and essentially people who are just hired to for guns and things like that, like mercenaries. There is so much in Earthrealm. I think the writers did very great, very good with that. Very good at giving us enough things that we're never truly lost because we're always going to see some aspect we can connect to or that we've seen before. I think what would have been really good is if they picked a perspective and flushed it out and dove us deeper and deeper into the world over several movies. For example, this first movie could have been just from the perspective of Liu Kang or Scorpion, and then continued. Maybe the next movie is from the perspective of Sonya or Jax, or reverse that, whichever. And then continue with each episode or TV show, each movie is diving us into this world from a different perspective. And then we connect to other realms through those perspectives. Through Sonya and Kano, we're able to connect to the outworld. Because later, as it shows in the movie, Cabal and Kano are kind of having connections to Outworld people and things like that, and Outworld loves to hire other people to get their job done. So easily we could have we could have had this world slowly flushed out for us. Now, getting past it. Again, I think that's how we as writers, we as people who just love literature, we can look at certain things and say, not everything has to be handed to me, or I don't have to hand this out to everyone in one full go. If I really want them to appreciate my world, the best appreciation is going to be through time and hard work. And if you look at that in life, that's with everything. If you look at how we make money, if you make quick money, you spend 5, 10 minutes and you do something, you make several $100 in just 5, 10 minutes. That's not going to be, you're going to appreciate how fast maybe you was able to get the money, but are you going to appreciate that money as much as if you worked 8 to 10 hours to make $100 or $200? I highly doubt it. That 8 to 10 hours to make 100, $200 is going to be more appreciated than what took you 5, 10 minutes because you worked so hard for it. You waited so long for it. That wait, that work hard that you put your audience through is what's going to get them to appreciate the world more. Now, NetherRealm and Midway also did this. If you look at Sub-Zero Mythology's game, we was able to get the perspective of Sub-Zero, and it introduced us to Quan Chi, Raiden, Shinnok, basically introducing us to a lot of the elders. Quan Chi, if I'm correct, he's not an elder god, but it introduced us to a lot of the elders and the different realms of NetherRealm and all these other crazy different things. Um, if you look at that old Sonya and Jax game, I forgot the name of it, same thing. And then they did create a new character as well, Taven and Dagon. But it's about how you do it. See, in Mortal Kombat Armageddon, they brought new characters that were deeply connected um, to other characters we only knew a little about, which were the Elder Gods. They didn't take a new character and connect them to an already fleshed out character that changed things drastically on how we looked at it. At least not with Taven and Dagon. So them bringing in Cole, that's okay. That's okay. But then they connected him deeply to Scorpion, which completely changes our history of Scorpion to the games. Now, if you're truly trying to honor something that's already established, then why would you drastically change it out like that? Especially if you're just trying to create a character for the audience to connect to, then I would say, then what was the purpose of giving the audience something to connect to, but then greatly changing it so then they won't really connect to it? They're connecting to your unique take. Yes, that's true. But then now your original audience, the people who came here because they understand the games and the lore, are left disappointed because they're given something that is completely weird. See, I think when you're dealing, it's a tricky game. You want to put your own unique spin to things. You want to do something that's different, but at the same time, if you're already dealing with an existing lore and history, I think it's wise to be careful in how much you change from that. Especially when it's your first movie. And they changed a lot in this. They changed Scorpion's background to an extent. His family still gets wiped out from the Lin Kuei, and Sub Zero is the main person there, wiping out all of the Shirai Ryu. However, Scorpion's bloodline ends there. So to say that he actually had somebody else, now that could be looked at as okay, well maybe this has always been the case even in the games and we just didn't know. Okay, yeah, but then y'all took things in a whole different direction later. Now there's this character that is connected to the Shirai Ryu that's still alive, that also doesn't operate like the Shirai Ryu. How he fights can be is there's no difference there between him and Johnny Cage or Sonya Blade and the style that he fights in. With the kind of mixed martial art. I'm just not a fan of it. I'll just leave it at that. However, um, like I said, in Mortal Kombat Armageddon, they was able to create two new characters, but again, they connected to people we barely knew about. So that just made us more hungry for these characters because now we was gonna finally understand a side of this universe we knew hardly anything about. I think that's why The Mandalorian is so successful right now. Or maybe it was because this last season was kind of mid, but you see, the species of Yoda has barely ever been touched on in Star Wars. So they create, and same for Mandalorian. Unless you watch Star Wars: The Clone Wars, even in that show, we learn a little about Mandalore, but not a lot. Just enough to make us more hungry for it. So the show Mandalorian takes two um corners of Star Wars that fans know very little about and flushes it out a lot more. For the people who didn't watch Clone Wars, now they can know more of Mandalore. And the people who did watch Clone Wars, still they can learn more of Mandalore. Now you can see more of Yoda's species, even though we still haven't seen. The only people we know is Yoda, Yaddle, and Grogu. We still see him young now. It's making us, hungry for more about his species without just telling us everything up front. At the end of season 3, we still barely know anything about Yoda and Grogu's species, and I like that because that mystery is how you get somebody slowly into just loving your world and being able to, and wanting to come back to understand, hoping that the next chapter gives us a little more and the next chapter gives us a little more. Now we know that Yoda species, not only does he live in a swamp, but they like to eat frogs, they like to eat eggs. Um, they are very naturally force and endowed, very naturally strong in the force. We've learned a little about they age very slowly. He's 50 years old and he still doesn't talk. More and more, we're getting used to something, and we didn't need it all explained in one go. We didn't need an exposition dump. We also didn't need to take a story that's already on a fleshed out character and change things about it, which is why I think the Kenobi show didn't do so well. But we're able to slowly enjoy this piece of cake, or this entire cake, one piece at a time. So that wraps up our video. Hopefully you like my custom figure here. It's not my best. I've definitely done better, but working with what I had. Hopefully you appreciated this video. And we'll continue to do videos like this where we explore basically how Netherealm, Ed Boon, even Midway, how they did a great job of creating this huge, massive world of Mortal Kombat. Being so creative, so unique, and just really inspiring when it comes to creating your own world and trying to get it out there to the public. In my book, I have a whole world of different species and races, and it's not an easy task to try to slowly get people to see a little bit of this species, a little bit of that, and a little of this culture and that without being overwhelmed, without treating my audience like they're stupid, without, you it's not an easy thing, like I said before. So again, no diss on the writers of Mortal Kombat. I'm gonna be there for the second Mortal Kombat movie when it drops. Just my own opinions and things that I've learned, and I try to utilize in my writings, and my own opinion of how I felt like NetherRealm Studios had already did a great job at using a small corner of their world to introduce us to the rest. Hope you all have a great day. May the Lord bless you and continue to keep you. And please like, subscribe, and also comment if you think that this video wasn't good. You think that there's things I can do better. I'm constantly trying to grow, and I hope I can grow with you all. Talk to you later.